Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Week 3, Dietary Lifestyle Transformation. Thanks for joining us. Any questions you have, let me know in the chat box as we go. I went ahead and added our meal plan ideas that Hannah, our registered dietitian, put together for us. So those are available via a Canva link, and we'll also be adding more to that. So continually check back. That's just the beginning of it. She's done a really great job coming up with breakfast ideas, lunch ideas, dinner, including recipes for you all. And then beyond recipes, I feel like a lot of you are wanting simple things that you could throw together and not really need a recipe for. So there's plenty of that as well. And then I'm starting to link in product recommendations. For example, I just started on it, and you'll have an idea for a good peanut butter to choose, a good cheese to choose, yogurt, etc. So you know what to look for. And just because it's a particular brand, okay, it's not letting you access the link. Let me check it. Just because it's a particular brand doesn't mean that it has to be that brand. I highly encourage you to check out the ingredient list. That's the most important part. Let me do this after we get off the call. I figured I could just log in and give you the access to it. When we get off, I'll update it for you. All right, check the ingredient list on the products because that's really the main thing. I just want to make sure that you're choosing things with the best looking ingredients. So for example, the peanut butter I gave you, it doesn't have to be Smucker's. That was just one I found that was peanuts and salt. And that's all I want you to look for in a peanut butter is peanuts and salt. We don't want the added oils. We don't want the added sugars. So some good examples of product recommendations there. All right, I'll check out the link and see if I can get it fixed once we get off. All right, we're going to continue optimizing our diet before we dive into intermittent fasting, but we are getting closer to adding in the fasting. So just know that we're getting there. Let's do a success check-in before we move forward, though. Last week, well, 2 weeks ago now, we introduced the whole food plate. So how are the foods going for you? Are you continuing to switch out your food list to include more of these whole foods? What is that looking like for you? How's it going? Any questions? I've gotten a lot of great questions on the sweeteners. Someone just recently I was going through the trackers, asked me about low-fat yogurt. Make sure that you're sticking to full-fat dairy. And also, once you're able to access the Canva document, you'll see a recommendation for yogurt and what to look for. All right. Any other questions? We talked about whole food plate last week. We talked about mindful eating. We talked about the hunger scale. So hopefully you are staying in this like 5-6 range where you're either comfortable, either hungry or full, or comfortably full where you're satisfied. That's what we're working towards anyway. And this week, I'm going to give you even more ammunition to get a very satiated diet before we dive into fasting. Dates, good question. Yes, you could use dates, but in moderation and sparingly, I would say. Yes, great source of fiber. They are very naturally sweet, so people use them in baking a lot, which I think is a good idea. And yes, if you need something, you could use a date. I still recommend that you pair it with a fat to lower the insulin response. How do I feel about oatmeal and the variations in one better than another? Bacon wrap dates, that sounds amazing. Really good idea. Okay, I mean, that's taking fat to a whole nother level. But yes. Oatmeal. Let's get back to that. So oatmeal is, let me go see if I can get back to the whole food plate. Oatmeal is going to be in our rarely category. It's a grain. It's not necessarily as refined as others, but you do not see oatmeal growing out of the ground per se. It still has to be processed, so it's still a processed food, even though it can be healthy in moderation. Your best bet if you're going to incorporate oatmeal, and this is one that is similar. I mentioned things like rice is like a one ingredient type grain, pasta is a one ingredient type grain compared, and oatmeal is a one ingredient type grain, quinoa, compared to things like crackers or bread that are even more processed and they have more ingredients added to them. So if you're looking at oatmeal, your best bet is to stick to oatmeal that comes out of the canister, the ones that say just oats. So it has nothing else added to it. I would not recommend doing oatmeal packets, but if you want to make your own oatmeal, you could do that in moderation. You can add full fat to it, like add peanut butter to it, add berries to it, something like that, if you need to have something like that. Ideally, we're trying to keep grains at a minimum, but oatmeal is one of those that kind of goes into the rice and pasta category, that it's less processed than others. Is 1 minute version better than or as good as steel cut? So steel cut is going to be less processed than the 1 minute version. The 1 minute version is going to be more processed. So if you're getting closer to a whole food, steel cut would be closer than the even like the old fashioned or the 1 minute oats. All right, good questions. Thank y'all. How's mindful eating going? Are you becoming more aware? Is it helping you know when to stop eating or when to start eating? Hopefully you're paying more attention. Awesome. Yes, yes, yes. Good. And you can just put hearts in the chat box if you're still working on it or if it's working for you. Hopefully this becomes a sustainable system that you can use to know when to eat, when to stop eating. And also I talked about we're still going to overeat. It's going to happen. So paying attention to those times as well. And hopefully we have less of them because we'll realize how uncomfortable they are when we really pay attention and stay in this state of either comfortable, neither hungry or full, or comfortably full and satisfied. Um, Overnight oatmeal with chia seeds, Greek yogurt, berries. I would recommend full fat yogurt with that. You could do something like that if you wanted to. All right. Plating was another topic of last week. How's plating going? Are you considering this? Are you using this? Is it in your head? It's in my head more than it was after last week. I mean, prior to last week. I'm a bad stand at the counter while my girls eat at the table type person. So I'm trying to sit down more too. I know it's better for me. How's plating going? Plating's helpful. Good. Any other thoughts on plating? Good. Oh, better at mindful eating than plating. Yeah, plating is hard, and it's probably something that we are doing without even realizing it. You know, grabbing something here and there and not really waiting to put it all on our plate and sit down. But I think it's something that could be really helpful and go hand in hand with being more mindful with our eating. All right. Okay, we're going to fill up on our fats. We talked about that last week, but I'm going to dive into it more. And it is a concept called fat fasting that I want to introduce to you. It's something that can be very beneficial before you go into fasting. And I've been talking about getting more satiated, and you can do this with fats. So what would this look like? What is it? It's a tool that you can use to help you get started with regular fasting. It can also, if you are one of those people that are still working on regaining control of your appetite, you're still trying to overcome those cravings, fat fasting can help with that. It can help you reach a fat burning mode faster with fewer side effects. And it's particularly helpful to those that are new to low carb eating or who have never fasted before. So I thought it would be a good idea to introduce this before we get into fasting so that you can start using it as you are preparing to fast. You can also use fat fasting when you come back from vacation, when you are going through periods of stress, when fasting seems impossible, you can use this instead. Or if you're just needing a reset, everything's feeling off and you're just starving, you're ravishing, you're back to that highs and lows. Fat fasting can help you get back into it, but can also help you get started. So it's a really great tool. It's not something that you do for an extended period of time. Ideally, this is a training wheel. You might see a wheel here, or you might see a donut. I'm not sure which it is actually, but fat fasting is a training wheel to get us away from the donuts. So I thought it was fitting. All right, it's a training wheel that we can use periodically. It's not something we'll use for the long term. You could use it for a day. You could use it just for one meal if you wanted to prior to the next day starting to fast. Use it how you will. Know this, though. Fat is the most satiating macronutrient on a neurological level. So as you start to eat fat, your body automatically starts letting your brain know that you're getting full. Fat signals to the brain that the body is full by promoting the feelings of satiety that we're looking for. Fat also contains more calories per gram compared to carbs or protein, meaning a smaller amount of fat can provide a substantial amount of energy. Carbs take longer for satiety cues to kick in, and this is why it's so easy to overeat on carbs, and you're going to feel the difference in taking more fats. And then when you have a carb heavy meal, you're really going to be able to tell the difference in how full you feel when you eat carbs, how bloated you may feel, how easy it was to overeat that, because it takes a long time before your brain catches up with how many carbs you've actually eaten. All right, so how do you fat fast? You want to incorporate some fatty proteins like eggs, salmon, or steak. You could do any or all. You want to incorporate nuts and seeds. Avocados are great for a fat fast. Olives. You can do non-starchy vegetables raw with dressing, non-starchy vegetables cooked with fats. And of course, you can have tea, coffee, and water in a fat fast. So you want to eat healthy fats when you're hungry. The idea is you're not fasting yet. You're eating when you're hungry. So you're not restraining or restricting your period of your window of eating. You are filling up your body with healthy fats. You're training your body to eat when you're hungry. And ideally, you're going to pick a few of those healthy fats from the list and just eat them on repeat until it gets really boring. That's the point. You're using fat to drive out carbohydrate cravings. And then over time, it's going to take less to satiate you, and fasting will come more naturally. So that's why it's really good maybe to choose to do fat fasting like the day before you start going into fasting. So that day, it's so much easier. Your body is fueled on healthy fats and ready to go. It's nice and satiated, and you'll know the difference when you get into fasting, you'll know the difference in going into it with some healthy fats the day before, and you'll notice the difference if you've eaten maybe some junk food or carb heavy meals. It's going to be really different in how you feel going into fasting and your amount of hunger. All right, here's the fat fast foods. And I already sent you the presentation in the chat box so you can have it. So it's there. All right, so I want to give you some ideas on what some fat fasting meal ideas would look like. So you're thinking about doing it, you're thinking about getting into your fasting, and you want to do this the day before, you want to do this the night before. What would those meals look like? Maybe eggs and avocado for breakfast or a veggie omelet, maybe some full fat yogurt, and you can add peanut butter to it, chia or flax seeds, maybe a smoked salmon salad, Caesar salad, a taco salad. You could do steak or salmon with cream spinach for dinner. You can add in handfuls of nuts. Nuts could be pecans, cashews, walnuts, pistachios, peanuts, any kind of nut you like. And then maybe some artisan cheese. And I say artisan because I really want y'all to get away from the processed cheese. That's the kind that comes in the bag that's shredded, and maybe over into some more block style cheeses. These are going to be less processed and they can be more fun too. They have great flavors, lots of varieties to choose from, and they're harder to overeat when you're not grabbing a whole pile of shredded cheese out of a bag. Instead, you're having to slice it up and have it in moderation, the cheese. So you could do something like a cheddar, a Gouda, a goat cheese, a blue cheese, a Gruyere. So cheese. Chicken. What about chicken? Chicken is not going to be a fatty protein compared to the salmon, the steak, or the eggs. Those are going to be fattier proteins that would be better to use on your fat fasting day. If you want to include chicken on like the next day when you are fasting and back into your regular meals the next day, that would be totally fine. All right. And of course, we want to keep filling up on fluids no matter what, whether it's a fasting day, or a fat fasting day, but especially on the day before a fast and the day of a fast, we want to drink plenty of fluids. So make sure you're very hydrated, because remember, we talked about sometimes hunger, the first sign of hunger is actually dehydration. So make sure you're getting in our water. If you need the coffee and tea, that's good as well. And you could add healthy fats to those too. All right, so our goals for this week are to continue whole foods, continue the mindfulness, continue the idea of plating our food, and paying attention to our hunger cues, our fullness cues, to know when to eat and when to stop eating. And then we want to add in healthy fats in preparation to fasting. So you may not be ready for a fat fast, but you can take this information and start to use it in your everyday routines, adding fats to help with satiating meals until we get ready for fasting, which is coming soon. And then please submit your tracker if you have not yet. Okay, I had a final tip and takeaway for you. I found a whole list of salads, which I can't remember if I've given this to y'all or not. I can't remember if I've given this to you yet or not, but check this out because there are tons of salad recipes on here. But the thing I liked the most is that at the very bottom, it gives you just some decent ideas on how to build your own salad. So starting with some type of greens, adding your protein to it, and then it has ideas for healthy dressings and toppings. I really liked that. So No, you don't have to buy a subscription to access this site. You do have to buy a subscription if you want them to make you like a specific meal plan. So sometimes, like when you're on the site, it'll ask you if you want to join in, but you don't have to. So like typically you can move around the site without a, see, I'm under a free trial, or I guess that's an option for a free trial. I'm not even logged in. I'm just accessing it like from a public login. But yeah, you should be able to access most things. There are some things that they do extra, like individual meal planning and things like that, but you should be able to get most things that I send you. Everything I send you, you should be able to access. All right, any other questions? I'm going to get that Canva link working for you all. And I think that's it for this week. Thank you all for joining, and come back next week. Email me if you have any questions. Put it in the chat box. I'm happy to help any way I can. And have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.